Thank you so much for joining But I'm Not Wrong podcast. I'm your host, Gail Turner, and today I'm talking to Gail Dudley from Columbus, Ohio. Gail is an author, magazine publisher, and has recently designed a successful civic engagement program, Politically Savvy, that has launched hundreds of women and girls into the meaningful work of community impact. That's just a small part of her resume. I have to round it out more later on, but let's get her into the conversation. And we'll bring her in here. Hi, Gail. Welcome to But I'm Not Wrong. It's the twinning of the Gales today. We're twins.
I love that, though.
So, Gail, you're in Columbus, Ohio. And now, Columbus, the city itself is pretty Democratic, leaning itself, correct?
Columbus is, yes.
And you've got a mayor there, Mayor Andrew Ginter, since 2015, so fairly stable for 7 years, right?
Yes.
And the state itself is heavily Republican, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. You have Governor Mike DeWine, Republican, and the government state Senate is heavily weighted Republican 24 and Democrat 9, I think, right now. So were you hoping for any kind of a change in your state to the 2020 election, or were you unsurprised? Because I think the turnout for voting in 2020 election was pretty good, wasn't it?
Yes, it was very good. Was I looking for anything different? But prior to Governor DeWine, we had John Kasich, who was also a Republican governor. However, John Kasich, I think, could ride the middle many times. Governor DeWine it's interesting because he could ride the middle sometimes as well. But the city as a whole, or shall I say the state as a whole, it's hard to turn this to a blue state. I think every now and then we go back and forth, but lately it's been pretty difficult to turn that tide.
Yeah, I know that the state helped Barack Obama get elected, I think.
Yes. That was the time that, and you can really kind of go with it. Like Bill Clinton, I think Ohio helped him. George Bush, Ohio helped him. Barack Obama, Ohio helped him. It's really, the dynamics are very interesting. I guess that's why they call us a swing state. But I think over the past 2 years, the past two election cycles, it's been Republican.
Yeah. Due to the close split in party registration and historical electoral importance, Ohio is a key battleground state. Now, in 2018, Ohio voters approved a constitutional amendment to limit how much the majority party could control the process of drawing congressional lines, gerrymandering, in other words.
Yes.
Is this something that concerns you, or are you happy about that?
I'm very concerned. I've been following the conversations over the last month and a half, and I'm pretty concerned. I shared with a group of people a couple of weeks ago. I said, now the thing that is happening is that as these lines are being drawn, and Ohio lost either 1 or 2 seats, if I recall from the census, but it's like how these lines are being drawn. I'm not sure that the inner city is going to remain the population they believe it's going to remain, because there's a lot of gentrification that's happening as well. So people are beginning to move to different areas. So it may backfire. And I've been following this with other cities and states as well. I was like, this could easily backfire with all of the housing and the gentrification and things like that that's happening.
Yeah, I mean, Columbus is, I think, increasing in population.
Yes.
Which is a good thing, unlike Cleveland in your state, which is sort of going the way of Detroit.
Yes,
It's
yes.
decreasing. It's really sad, really sad.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Yeah, they're the building boom here in Columbus and what I call Central Ohio, which has your immediate suburbs around Columbus. The apartments, the massive apartments, the housing, just everything. Even new high schools that are being built already, the students have outgrown the building. So it's like, do we do another building? What's going to happen? Will this slow down? And right now, it's not looking as if it's going to slow down at all.
So you have the industry to support it.
Yes, Amazon here is here now with several distribution centers. You have JP Morgan Chase that's here, that's huge. Bank of America just moved in. Um, we still have the Anheuser-Busch that's pretty huge here. So it's growing. And now we have well, got the Ohio State University that's here. That's growing leaps and bounds. The new Crew Stadium opened up this summer, and that brought in more people. I mean, there's a lot of things happening. Um, like last night alone, every sports in Columbus, Ohio, was all operating last night to where it created a gridlock. So, and that's never been known in Central Ohio.
Yeah, yeah. Um, as of the end of March of this year, Republicans across the country had introduced 362 bills with restrictive voting provisions in
Yes,
47 states.
yes,
Oh my God. So recently, Ohio followed and passed HB 294, which targets absentee voting and ballot drop boxes after those methods were used widely for the first time in November 2020, and helped increase nationwide voter turnout to record levels. Clearly, they
yeah.
don't like voter levels going up. So this means in Ohio, that's one location per county for drop boxes, and only 10 days leading up to election day instead of the in the past 30 days.
Yes.
So, and the locations of the drop boxes will only be outside of the county board of election offices. So, there will also be new restrictions on voter registrations and absentee voting, including what kind of mail-in ballots could be cured. Cured meaning the process of fixing small, little mistakes in the ballots so votes can count. So there will be cuts in early voting hours, requiring two forms of voter ID, and limiting the existing ability of the Ohio Secretary of State to uh, prepay postage on election mail. So this will disproportionately affect black and brown voters, of
Yes.
course, as usual, students, low income residents, uh, disabled people, active duty military,
Yes.
who it's going to be tough for them time wise, and seniors. So, Gail, what's the biggest issue about getting people two forms of voter ID, in your opinion?
Yeah. The biggest issue, I think, okay, like for example, we know this, you and I and other people, and it's really trying to educate the voters now as to what they need, but it's getting them to listen because so many people they're tired of the news, they're over it, they're not paying attention, they're not watching. They won't even know that rule exists, which means those of us who are trying to educate the community, we're starting even now getting that information out there. You're going to need two forms of ID. So then we have to get back to the population that I believe it has target, as you just read off there. How do they get off of work to go get that other form of ID?
So what kind of ID are we talking about? Like driver's license, obviously, would be one.
Driver's license, state ID could be another one.
Okay.
Student ID could be another one. Your military ID could be another one. Um, they're also looking for the a bill in your name. So let's take a person that doesn't have their names on a bill. Let's say their spouse has it, or someone, their partner or their roommate or whomever may have it. How are they going to get that if they don't have a bill in their name?
Got it.
So let's say they were having difficulty establishing credit. How are they going to get that credit? What do they need to do? How are they going to have to get out of debt to be able to get that? It's like an ongoing cycle that's to me, it's a system that's already set up to fail. And I don't believe the system is new. I believe it's just coming back into usage again because we found a way to work around it. Now they're clamping down so we don't have a way out. And that's what's grievous to me, is that we can't even get out of this entrapment, if you will. So there's always another reason why. So the two IDs is going to be difficult.
Would reducing it to one ID help?
It could help as long as we help people get either that state ID or that driver's license. Which means, do we need to partner with Lyft or Uber to get people to these places to get that ID?
Yeah. I was wondering about that. I was wondering if there were any programs, perhaps to the churches. I was thinking about Georgia, and they have a great program in Georgia about getting out the vote on, to help with transport on election days, or to help those affected with restrictions on the cuts, because of the early voting hours, to get them,
Right.
or to help them with mail-in ballots, getting them in on time.
Right. We have what you've probably seen other places called souls to the polls, where churches will at the end of church service. But the problem is with those people, there are many churches here not back in because of COVID, because the numbers in Ohio are like skyrocketing.
Yeah.
So even with the election coming up, November the 2nd, many churches aren't back. So there's already that mindset of this isn't going to happen on that day. This is going to be difficult. We're going to see low numbers turn out. So then do we do pick up just within our communities, within the neighborhood? They're already calling out for poll workers right now. And of course, we know if they don't have enough poll workers, the areas that are going to be closed down are going to be those marginalized communities, are the same people that will not be able to get to transportation to get to where they need to go. So again, that cycle continues. And it's, for me, Gail, it's really frustrating. Because we do our part and it's like, can y'all give a little bit? What else could we use? Could we do validation of, I know this person, this is their address. What else can we do? But Uber and Lyft did help out in the 2020 election. So maybe that will be made available again as well.
Good. Yeah. Well, what do you think about the California move? They just recently passed a law there that they are going to mail out all the ballots to their elections all the time.
I think that's perfect. It's like, now the downside if somebody moves, which to me, the ownership and responsibility will have to go to the individual person as well. So if you move, then you need to update your information. But to just mail them out, it's like, why not just have a fair election? Why don't we all just mail them out? It's like, it seems so simple.
I know. For a country that is founded on, democracy and everybody getting a vote and running away from the King of England.
You think it's so simple. And I wonder sometimes if that's why they weren't, doing what they were trying to do to get rid of Newsom. It's like, okay, is it because of some of the innovation, the ideas that his administration and others, the Secretary of State and so forth, are bringing forward? But it's like, that seems like it's just a simple solution and an easy solution.
Yeah.
Even if you mail them out and say you have 5 days to get it back. It's okay.
Yeah. Have you heard of or have you been involved with a group called All on the Line? It's a
Yes,
okay.
yes. That's Eric Holder's group organization. I
Yeah.
actually had the Central Ohio, and I cannot think of her name off the top of my head, who was actually on the show that I host, where she was just talking about so many the of course the gerrymandering, the redistricting, the mapping, and everything was the topic of conversation we had. But just looking into what they do, it's like that's a great resource. But again, although we're always talking about, and I'm sure you do the same, getting all these sites out there, people have to go. I think so many people are exhausted, Gail, that they're like, I'll wait until it's time to vote. But by then it's too late
Hmm.
to make any adjustments that they need to make. For example, my passport expired. Well, it was going to expire. And I happened to just see it. I was reading an article and I said, oh, let me check my passport. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's going to expire at the end of September, which this month. So I completed it, whatever, sent it in. And when I received it back, not that I'm traveling anywhere anytime soon, but when I received it back, I was like, wow, what are all these changes? So I actually sat down and read through that, and I'm thinking, I would have never known. And it made me think, because even on the passport, I was like, how they know I'm vaccinated? Because it didn't even ask me that question, but it was all a part connected to that passport. And I was like, this is different. This is unusual. Um, and I wonder sometimes if people read. I think we hear so much, but it's like, are we taking the time to sit down and read? So when I think about voters, even educated voters, are we pausing long enough to read and to understand what's happening? And I'm afraid to say, Gail, I'm not sure that we are, because I think people are exhausted.
Yeah. I wouldn't doubt that one little bit. And I think that's where maybe your news and motion thing is helpful because people aren't having to read it. They can see you, every morning.
Yeah, but I'm always telling them though to go check it out. I said, don't just take my word for it. Go check this out for yourself.
Hmm.
And I'm providing the links and everything. I'm teaching people how to research. It's like, don't just take a sound bite from a candidate. Don't just take a sound bite from the news. We all have our phones now. Go Google that and research it to see, okay, what's the truth here? What are the facts? How does this pertain to me? How do I get involved with this, or how do I share this information with others? So yeah, you're right. That's one way of doing it. But you know, I'm also worried that there's so many people out there who are on these platforms and their whole goal is to feed misinformation. And I don't know if you saw the report earlier today where YouTube is taking down all, they're going through every hashtag or video or whatever that talks about the vaccine. And if it is false information, they're removing them immediately.
Oh, well, okay.
Yeah,
Good progress.
that just came out today. So
Well, we'll see whether that works. I was just watching the tech guy who comes and visits Bill Maher on a regular basis, and he was on this past week, and he was talking about Facebook. This is completely off topic, but
that's what Gales do.
yeah. It's the twinning of the Gales. We can talk whatever we want about, but he was talking about how in Canada and the United States and probably Great Britain, there's lots of laws around what Facebook can put on. And there are lots of content moderators that protect us from seeing the worst of what gets posted on Facebook in the US, Canada, and Canada for sure.
Wow.
I'm not sure about Great Britain. But he says, for instance, in Mexico or Honduras or any of those other countries, they're seeing decapitated bodies. in their news feed regularly because they don't have the content moderators to pull that crap off of there. And I was like shocked.
Wow.
But then when I thought about it, well, of course they don't have the manpower to do that. They're doing it to appease those of us in U.S. and Canada, but they're not doing it elsewhere because they don't have the bodies, and they don't want to pay for the bodies, right? And I thought
Right,
that's
right.
horrible, So all those atrocities that are happening in wherever, Rwanda and Thailand and whatever. So can you imagine how the people are being inured to that kind of horrible stuff? Oh, this is completely off topic, but anyways,
But no, I'm glad you shared that. I agree. Yeah, I didn't know. I wasn't aware of that. Wow.
Yeah. Anyways, to get back on track, the that's just one horrible thing to come up on a Wednesday morning. The John Lewis Voting Act. I bet you got a lot to say about that. I bet you would just love to see that come in. It's a shame that it had to be passed or has to be voted on, but
voted on. It makes no sense, Gail. It's, sometimes I pause and say, are we sticking with these, again, sound bites to keep voters engaged and to keep the debate going? Because can't we just pass that? I don't get why we can't. It makes no sense. And I go back to the Joe Biden administration. It's like his acceptance speech. He says, I owe you, and I'm like, okay, then owe us and pay us and get this done. So we don't have to deal with this John Lewis Voting Act, not another moment. We don't even have to talk about it, not another moment. But I think it's ridiculous that this becomes a part of all the different either reconciliation bills and I don't think it's in the infrastructure bill, but all these different bills. I'm thinking, why? Just pass the bill. Why are you going around doing these tours? You can tell I got real passionate about this, Gail. Why are we going around doing all these tours about the reasons why we need to just pass it? Just pass the bill. I'm not understanding this. Yeah, a lot that makes my blood boil. It makes my skin crawl. To the point of, wow, we are still having a discussion about passing a voter rights act. It makes no sense.
Yeah, it's coming. You know that it's coming. It's sort of like women's voting rights. We're going to come. Pass them frickin' already. You know that. Reconciliation, payout for the wrongs of slavery. That is going to come eventually. So just do it. Don't extend the pain. Just do it. Cut your losses. Pay it out. You think you can't afford it? Think of what the Pentagon budget is. You can afford it.
You can afford, look at what they're trying to pass right now, 3.5 trillion. It's like you can afford it. Now, there's a small town in Illinois, right outside Chicago, that did pay some reparations to the community. This was probably late May, early June. And I can't think of the name of the city. But I was like, okay, that's a start. That at least somebody's looking at it. It's like, but what about the entire USA? Let's get this done.
Yeah. And it's not just for slavery, it's for redlining,
Right, redlining.
And on and on and on and on,
Right, right.
So yeah, your energy is really clearly to your community, and I suspect towards women and girls in your community. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, I would say that's fair.
Yeah. Well, why do you suppose that is, especially to the women and girls?
Well, I have a 27-year-old daughter who works alongside of me with many things that we do. We had the magazine together. She now runs the magazine. I'm pretty much in the background for that one. But she says often, she goes, Mom, your energy and personality draws people. She said, the reason why you're getting the viewers and the replays that you're getting is because of the way she goes, you come to the table at 7:25 a.m. Eastern, ready to go. And she says, and the laughter and the friendly friendliness and how you connect with people. And that's been me all my life. I'm now 56 years old, but that's been me all my life. I get engaged with people. If I see a wrong, I want to talk about the wrong. I want to figure out how we can make it right. If I go to the high schools and students are sitting on furnaces because there's not enough seats in the room, I'm like, okay, how do we fix this? I'm always looking at, how, what's the solution here? We can't just stay here and complain. We got to do something about it. Last year when we looked at, okay, we need to get people registered to vote, I said, okay, how are we going to do this? So I said, let's identify 9 people, and each of the 9 will identify 9 more. And by the time voting registration was over, we had over 9,000. It was only in a short period of time, but it was like, we got to get this done. And it was about educating. I would talk to people in the middle of a department store, young men, young women, whatever, with their pants sagging, like, hey, are you registered to vote? And they're like, I will never forget last year, this young man, he was like, why are you talking to me? I said, I just want to know if you're registered to vote. And he said, I can't register. And I said, why not? And he said, oh, because I have a record. And I said, did you create forgery with taxes or with voting? He was like, no. I said, then you can register to vote. So I sat there and educated him, and he was like, are you serious? Now, trust me, he was high as I don't know what, but he paid attention to me. And while we were walking out the door, he said, first of all, thank you. He said, people don't even deal with me or have a conversation with me. He said, but you were going to continue to talk to me as long as I was in that line. He said, and I was sitting there going, oh my gosh, she's not going to be quiet until I register to vote. So he pulled out his phone. I had my iPad. He registered to vote. But when we were walking out the store, Gail, he was calling other people, telling them about his encounter in the store, and said, hey, y'all, I'm going to send y'all this link. Make sure you register, because we can register. And I was like, oh my gosh, he got it.
Yeah.
And then I would find him on the show. I was like, oh, that's the guy. I would never call him out because I didn't want people to know.
Yeah.
But it was like, that's him. He had other people registered, and he was actually on the beat with us getting people to register once he found out that he could register to vote and vote. So even that. And so my daughter says, and other people are like, there's just something about you that draw people. And they're like, okay, she's not going to shut up talking, so let me just do whatever she's asking us to do. So it works in my favor. I got in trouble in elementary school for talking, so now I'm using it for the best.
Oh, that's awesome. And, and there's a really good case in point. There's somebody who has, okay, they have a criminal record, but they did their time. And if they've done their time, give them back their rights. Why would you take their rights away permanently?
Right. But he was told that he would not be able to register or vote. But what he was told was a lie. Yeah. I was like, wow. At least in Ohio, I was like, you can do that in Ohio. As long as you didn't do these 2 things, you're good. Yeah.
Gail, this has been terrific. Your community is so lucky to have you. What keeps your energy up? I mean, you are like the Energizer bunny.
I'm just really passionate about community. That's really where it stems from. Both my parents are still living. They're 86 years old. The neighborhood we grew up in was in a low income area. And even now, how people are trying to go in, because all the elderly people who still live in that community, people try to come in and buy their homes for like 40,000, 50, and like, are you crazy? And so my parents are always telling their neighbors, no, if y'all have any questions, check with my children, because I think my parents' children, all of us are the only ones still living on that from the original families who lived on that street. And so we had a town hall. I was like, let's have a town hall. So like in my parents' backyard, we had this conversation, and I said, don't do that. And if there's any questions, and here's some attorneys, here's some resources. So I'm always looking out for people, and it's just a part of who I am. So that alone motivates me when I see that other people are trying to take advantage of people who they may think not have the education or the resources or whatnot. So I just love what I do. I love community. People tried to get me to run for office. I said, nope. I can do more work on this side of things, and which I really believe I can. So this is me. I wake up like this, Gail.
Well, you know what? Your community needs you, so you make sure that you take care of yourself because they need
Yes,
you around for a long time.
thank you. Thank you. I received that. Yes.
All right. So, I've got one thing left, Gail, and it's something that I like to do with my guests, especially if they're in a political arena, and it's called the Fast 10. So, you ready for some
Okay,
quick questions?
let's
Yeah?
go.
Okay. All right. So, I just need you to answer these with a yes or no. We're not going to have a big discussion about them. Okay?
Okay, got you.
All
Gotcha.
right. So, do you believe in climate change?
Yes.
Should vaccines be mandated for hospital workers?
Yes.
Should critical race theory be taught in schools?
Absolutely.
Should abortion be a choice for women alone?
Yes.
Should women receive equal pay as men for the work they do?
Absolutely.
Do you believe in LGBTQ plus rights?
Yes, absolutely.
Do you support the defund the police movement?
Yes, as long as people understand what it means.
Yes.
Sorry, I know you said yes or no, but
Yeah, no. And I'm assuming also that people understand what that means. It doesn't mean taking away all their money.
right.
It means reallocating it. Yeah.
Yes.
For the stupid people out there, it means reallocating the money.
You're right.
Do you accept the results of the 2020 elections?
Absolutely.
Should there be background checks before gun sales?
Yes.
And the most important question of all, the Columbus Blue Jackets, the Columbus Crew SC, or the Columbus Clippers?
I would say the Columbus Blue Jackets.
Okay.
Yeah. 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 You left out the Buckeyes because I would have been there completely.
Oh, I did I? Well, I probably my fault completely because I'm not from Columbus, so I missed that out completely.
No, I was waiting for it, like she gotta say the Buckeyes.
No, that's my fault. Gail, this has been terrific. We are definitely twins of the heart.
Yeah.
I feel it. I feel it. We were probably separated at birth. And
Yeah, I believe that.
So thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate it really a lot.
Thank you for having me. I am so grateful to join you today.
Thank you. My guest today has been Gail Dudley. She is married and the loving mother of two, the author of 11 books, publisher of Ready Magazine, and host of News in Motion, a weekday live broadcast in Columbus, Ohio. She is widely recognized for her contributions around advocacy and community building. Thanks so much for your time today. I appreciate it more than you can know. You can follow me through all sorts of social media, and you can find those links on my website, butimnotwrong.com. And if you want to get in touch with me, you can reach me at stillnotwrong@gmail.com. I promise to read everything sent to me. I hope you hit subscribe on this podcast and that you'll be back next week. Stay present and stay kind. Bye-bye.